One area of concern for parents and students alike is whether they are prepared for college or not. Nowhere is this concern more evident than in the audition process. From the flop sweat of aspiring actors to the nervous nail-biting fathers to chain-smoking mothers, the apprehension is evident. On this episode of Behind the Curtain, we'll be talking to a recently graduated student to find out how well prepared they were and how successful their auditions went. Before we go any further, I'd like to state clearly that this is neither an endorsement nor an indictment of any high school, college, or community theater program. It is solely based on the observations and experiences of one student. This episode is not a how-to audition for college or how to do anything. It is simply presented for information within the context of this one person's experience. And with us today is Morgan Casto. Hi, Morgan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank
Wonderful.
you for having me.
Where and when did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2014, this time last year, from Russell High School in Russell, Kentucky, and I now attend Morehead State University in Morehead, Kentucky.
I know where that is. I've been there.
You have?
I have. Did your high school have a theater club or a drama program?
We did not, and we did have a teacher who did sponsor a few productions. We ended up doing Our Town, and there's another production, I can't remember what it was, but I never got to be a part of it because I was always doing local things, local community theater, because when I first got involved in theater, they didn't have that. So I had to look elsewhere. I looked at the Paramount and ACTC. I did a lot of productions with them, and whenever I started doing that and I got involved in that, that kind of took my time. I took my time elsewhere, and so whenever they started at school, I was already involved, and but I was glad that they had that. It just wasn't an official drama program.
So how did you become involved in community theater?
Well, my librarian, Robin Clay, her children both did theater at ACTC, and they had auditions for A Christmas Carol in 2010, and I thought, this is a community event. Every year they have this show. I'll just go see how it goes. So my friends took me up to the audition space, and I sang some Christmas carols. I think I sang Silent Night or Mary Did You Know or something, I don't know. But I ended up doing that, and I was cast in the ensemble, and that was the first of my theater adventures. And from then on, I was stuck. So here I am.
You were stuck.
I was stuck.
It is a kind of an addiction, isn't it?
It is. You have to feed it.
It's not a bad addiction. So what was the audition process like for community theater?
It's different depending on the company you're with. I know that my experience with ACTC is a completely different world when you compare it to the Paramount Players, and completely different when I compare it to my university experience. For ACTC, they did a lot of, theirs was more of like an educational program. So we used songs, audition songs from the show that we were doing, or everything was about the show and what we could learn from the show. As the Paramount was more of what can you bring that you already know, and it was more of a performance-based space rather than an educational space. And then we still learned things, but that wasn't our goal. It was to showcase what we've learned in class, or the classes that they have at the Paramount. And then the university was similar to my experience at the Paramount, where you had to bring in, what you already learned, but we also did, like my audition for Cabaret was, they gave us a pre-cut sheet of music and we had to sing that, which is kind of what the callback experience is at the Paramount. So I came in and I sang Cabaret, which I had already prepared, but everybody sang the same song. So it just depends on the different company and what they're looking for, and sometimes it varies from show to show. Like Cats, they had a specific thing they were looking for. You bring in one song and then they're going to give you another song that they want you to come back and sing the next day. So it just kind of varies. But
How many colleges did you audition for?
You want a number?
I want a number.
There were hundreds of colleges at one audition that I had. I went to Governor's School for the Arts in 2013 for musical theater, and they have this program where they have all of the universities in the state and some out of state come and recruit you. And so my audition for Morehead was actually not at Moorhead. It was at YPass in Louisville, and all these schools came to YPass, and I performed for UK and Moorhead and Transy and any school you could possibly think of. They have, Ball State's there, all kinds of different universities that are in affiliation with Governor's School for the Arts. A lot of people who are alums will be like, hey, you should come to this, I'm an alum and these kids are really great. So I did an audition for hundreds of colleges, and I spent all of my senior year traveling. I don't even think I could give you a number, just because I had a binder of my top 10 schools, and then I had a trash can of the rest of the things that I had weeded out. So I couldn't even begin to give you a number, but hundreds of colleges.
So how did you decide on a college?
Money. He was going to pay me to go to their school. I really wanted to go to the University of Kentucky for a couple of reasons. I have multiple interests. I had also applied for the honor scholarship at Moorhead State, which was not affiliated with the theater program, but just with the university. And I'd gotten that, which is a full ride and a study abroad and anything I could possibly ask for. And they were really supportive of the fact that I wanted to be in the theater. It wasn't a thing like, oh, well, we're academic, we don't support the arts. So I made the financial decision to go to Moorhead. But once I got there, I realized that it was the best decision for me in my performance as well. Because my friends were going to NKU and, UK and great schools where they had great opportunities. But I was getting more opportunities to perform as leads in these productions because it's a smaller program, and I was getting more one-on-one attention, which I need personally. That's how I succeed, is when I can look at somebody and call them by their first name and they tell me the truth.
How did you feel skill-wise? Are you on par with other first-year students? Because you just finished your freshman year. So were you on par, or were there some areas that you were lacking in?
I'm not saying this to brag on myself, but I know that I worked harder than a lot of the people that are in my class. I was competing up with the seniors in the group and was performing right next to them, and that was such an awesome experience because they have all of this experience under their belt professionally and just at Moorhead. And I learned so much just from them and learn what they're learning so that I can perform with them and compete with them.
What was the audition process like in college, and do you still have the same anxiety waiting on the cast list to be posted?
For shows? Well, it depends on the show. Like, for the Children's Hour, which was the first show I did at Moorhead, it was a straight play. And so we had you can't watch other people's auditions like you can in community theater. And I remember that night, I was so nervous waiting for the cast list, but the cast list was posted that night. And my friend, we ran into the building and ran up to the call board, and that was my first role. It was Mary Tilford in the Children's Hour at Moorhead State, and that was so exciting. You get cabaret when they give you what you want ahead of time. The dance audition, I've gotten better with my dance, but it's definitely something I'm uncomfortable with when I get really nervous. And I went in there and I just sang my heart out, and they had me even sing for the MC. They were playing around with some casting things, and I was just a nervous wreck. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I laid awake and I was stressing out. I was like, I really want this part. I really want this part. And the next day, I was sick. I was just sick, but it all worked out fine. It was great. I still have that anxiety. I remember going to the Muni. They look at me one time and I'm out. I drove 9 hours for her to look at me one time, and that's okay. You just move on. They told me at SETC, auditioning is your job. Getting the job isn't your job. Auditioning is the job. But, it happens, and I'm getting better with it, but there's definitely that anxiety there.
What about the rehearsal process? How did the rehearsal schedule differ from college to your experience in community theater?
Well, probably the biggest thing is the professors don't care what time it is. You just have to be able to adjust to it. It's just one of those things where, it's going to be longer, and you're going to have to be quiet. I learned to be quiet in rehearsal. I have a deeper respect for the directing aspect of it, that from being in college and knowing that my professor is my director. So it's a little bit different now that I can see that, and I see, I even get frustrated for them when things aren't going a certain way. But you just definitely have to adjust and be ready to go whenever, and be there and show up on time, and it's part of it, and I just respect it a whole lot more.
How did the training and conditioning prepare you for the rigors of college? Was it more difficult making the transition physically or mentally?
Well, that's a tough question. I think mentally, because when I went to college, my first semester I had acting techniques, and that class is probably my favorite class I've ever taken. I love acting. I did learn so much about people. And I look back at videos of me in high school, and I'm like, I had no idea what I was doing. You have to love your character. You can't judge them. You have to understand and accept them for all the things that they are and all of the things that they aren't. And I was used to playing Dorothy and, Jemima and Cats, things that were more my speed in high school. And in college, you just have to take a leap of faith and go for these roles that are nothing like you. My dad just about had a heart attack, but that's, my parents grew with me, They were
That's
okay
a great
with
line.
that.
My parents grew with me.
They did.
So how is community support for the arts there? Are your audiences mostly students, or does the community come in and support it as well?
It's a kind of a mixed. It really depends on the show. We had a great turnout for every show that I've done there, and part of it's because most of our shows are in the black box, and so we have all of our productions right now are in the black box, and we've talked about moving some things over to button, and they're getting ready to build a fine arts building, so that might
good,
be improved in the next little bit, but it just depends on the show. It really does. So it's not just the community in Moorhead, but the students' community from where they're from will come, whether it's their family, their teachers. Jim Maggard from Fairview brought his entire class up there. And when I was in high school, I went with the ACTC Romeo and Juliet group to go see Oedipus the King. So there are lots of communities, not just in Moorhead, but in the tri-state area and around this area that show up to these shows. And we sell out. So it just depends, if there's something that can be educational, which usually is because it's a university, people will show up.
But we hear about a lot of times the student athletes at college levels, or at college having special tutors and things like that, and special academic support systems with coaches and professors. What kind of support system is there for theater students?
Well, at Moorhead, specifically, we have a work-study program. Anytime you're cast in a show, you aren't cast until they check your GPA. And you can only be in the show if you have a GPA that can be supported while you're doing the show. Professors are it's kind of cool to know that these people that are making these decisions, to help you, they're also your teachers. So they know when you're struggling. They know if you're not showing up to class, if you're just lazy, or if you're really struggling. So they are very, they're there for you all the time to, just help you academically, or to support you if there's something, going on that you need some extra help with. And also, outside of the theater, there's a free tutoring program at Moorhead. Anyone can have a free tutor, and those tutors get paid. So, there's an incentive for them. But there's a little card that I actually have on my refrigerator that you can call and say, hey, I need a tutor for this subject, for this class. Do you have someone available for that? So it's pretty nice. Outside of our department, the school is offering help as well. But the department is super supportive as well. So,
does the school partner with or act as a feeder for a professional theater company, or for summer stock or other paid productions?
It's more like Moorhead isn't affiliated with any specific summer stock company, but there are lots of places that tend to hire Moorhead students. The biggest one that I can think of is the Stephen Foster story in Bardstown. And lots of Moorhead State students end up there in the summer. People have this understanding that Moorhead fosters these kinds of students, and so we want to hire these kinds of students. But at the same time, like, our professors will tell us, if you go to SETC, you need to have this on your resume, you need to have this, you need to be able to perform to the best of your ability the way that we expect Moorhead students to, or you're not going to go, because you will ruin it for other students if you don't have a work ethic, if you don't have, if you're going to be lazy, you can't go. So I think that's kind of like that. Even though we're not affiliated, it still helps me build a network just having that on my resume that I attend Moorhead State.
Looking back, are there any areas that you wish you would have learned more about or had more training in before you started college?
I really do wish I would have stuck with dance. As a kid, I took dance, but my parents made me choose if I wanted to do dance or soccer. Even though I enjoyed playing sports, I feel like that would have helped me. Dance is something where you can't just walk in and learn it. You can't just make yourself do it. You have to have the technique. I'm getting there now. I'm doing a lot better. Like, it's amazing to see how much I've changed in a year. But it's definitely something that I wish I would have stuck with. I would have had the initiative to do that in high school rather than now. And it's kind of small. We don't have a dance major at Moorhead. We have a dance minor. I mean, I'm not a dance minor. I'm a double major with theater and strategic communications, and I don't have time to have a minor. I really don't. Hopefully this year I'll be in the dance show and showing off my moves, and then maybe next summer I'll be catching up a little bit. But that's something I do wish I would have stuck with, so that I could be in those big old dance numbers, and I wouldn't be freaking out over this dirty dancing. It's okay, I'm getting it though. I'm excited. I've got victory bruises.
All right, last question. Do you have any words of wisdom for those headed off to be theater majors?
Yes, I do. There are so many people that say, I'm going to go to Broadway. That's what I want to do. And I got to listen to Ben Vereen at SETC. I got to hug him, and it was so awesome. But he said something that really stuck with me. And he said, Broadway is not a destination. It is another place to work. And I thought about that, and I was like, that's so true. He said, because somebody had asked him, like, I want to be on Broadway. What's some advice you can give me? And he's just like, girl, you don't need to say, I want to be on Broadway. Say, I want to perform. And then find a job. And then while you're at that job, look for another job. And you might end up there. But just because you're not there doesn't mean you're not successful. And another piece of advice, my professor always sends at the bottom of his emails, Konstantin Stanislavski, love the art in yourself, not yourself in art. But don't worry about it being perfect, because you're not going to be. You're going to be bad sometimes. It's not going to be good. But that's how you know that you can change it. Just raise the bar each time. Find something new to try every time. Don't worry about it being perfect. And, love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art. So, I don't know, just have fun with it, Go out there, try things, go to auditions.